Hey YouTube land, this is Tychonders doing another action figure review, and this time it's for something a little bit different. It's still a Star Wars figure, but this is one of the lines that are aimed at girls. But it's a 12-inch action figure, so 1/6 scale or 12-inch action figure made by Hasbro, and this is for part of their Forces of Destiny line, and it's basically let's get girls interested in Star Wars characters kind of thing. So they kicked it off with a lot of the kind of female heroes. So you have this figure, which is Jyn Erso. You have figures like Leia. You have a few different versions of Leia. You have Leia in her Hoth uniform, Leia in the Endor uniform, which comes with a kind of a wicket, but it's kind of that weird plushy sort of. It's a solid figure, but it has a kind of fur on it, kind of similar to the old Masters of the Universe Panther and Mossman, that kind of stuff. And Leia with the Hoth version of Leia comes with R2D2. Then you got Rey, and you got a second version of Rey that they released with a BB-8. And you got Jyn here, and the other figure that they released, a female figure that they released, is Sabine Wren from the Rebels line. So they've kind of released characters all across the board, from the classic trilogy to the new stuff. The only figures I don't think they've released any figures, the only characters they haven't released any figures from is the prequels. I don't think they've done a, what's her name, Amidala figure. They may have done a Princess Amidala. I don't think I've seen one. But for the packaging, it's a big giant clamshell, open kind of window style clamshell. You got, if I just push the figure aside for a second, you got a picture of the character, the animated style character, because all these are based on kind of animated shorts called Forces of Destiny. So you have animated versions of Leia, as I said, Rey, Jyn and Sabine. They've all had a little mini kind of comic type thing, or not mini comic, but a mini animated episode. You got action features that are shown in the the left hand corner of how to do the action feature. You got the logo, which is a new style logo. It actually reminds me a lot of the old kind of like the comics style logo that they did on some of the Dark Horse comics and the Dark Horse books. That kind of reminds me a bit of that. Then you got picture of Jyn, and then you got in the background, I'm not sure if you can see it that well, you have a picture of Cassian and K2SO. And then flipping around the back of the box, you have a brief bio on Jyn, saying, a rebel to the core, she takes matters into her own hands to protect others, and then it's repeated in several different languages. Then it has swings baton is her gimmick. Now every figure in this line, as far as I know, has a action feature gimmick. Most of them are just kind of twist the legs and it does a swing with the arm or the waist or the hand. You have a great image of Jyn in the animated style. I will say I've watched one or two episodes, but I wasn't particularly enthralled with the whole series because they're very short episodes, so I wasn't really invested much in it. Then you got Rey of Jakku, and as far as I know, you have Rey of Jakku, and then there's a Starkiller based version of Rey, or a second version of Rey that comes with BB-8. There's one version that doesn't and one that does. Then you got Sabine Wren, and the also available, and then you got the usual stuff. And on the bottom of the box is this barcode and legalese. So enough for the box. Onto the figure itself. So she comes with two accessories. Actually, well, technically she comes with three. I'll get into that. So she comes with a pistol, which is a very nicely sculpted pistol, and she comes with a baton, which is part of her action gimmick. So for the pistol, if I can bring it up there, it's very nicely sculpted. It's actually has two tones of paint. It's not just one single color. It's a cast in, from what I can see, it's cast in a dull kind of metallic silver. And then it has black paint apps in different locations, and she can hold it quite nicely in her right hand. It's designed to hold the pistol. It has a trigger finger for the pistol, and she actually has a working holster as well that she can store the pistol in when she's not holding on to it. So bear with me a moment. Let's open the strap, and then the strap goes around it and holds it in place. The belt is a separate piece that can be removed, so you could class it as an extra accessory. She has this head wrap that comes with her. It comes with in the packaging kind of wrapped around her neck and kind of balled up, but you can actually open it up and you can actually put it onto her head as the hood that she wore in the film, and you can wrap the two bands around her neck to give her that look that she had in the film, or in the Rogue One film. Or you can just leave it completely down and leave it off the head, and kind of just wrap the scarf part around it and have it completely down if you want to. I should point out that I'm kind of fighting a cold at the moment, so I'll be fighting cold for a bit. So the other accessory she comes with is a baton, which is quite nicely sculpted. She can hold it in her hand quite nicely. You can kind of swing it around. It's just done in the same silvery grey plastic. And to activate the action feature, now because of the way her arm is, she can be posed with her arm, but she has a kind of a swing in her arm as well. But it can, if you click it, it will go into place. And then she does have the action feature. Actually, probably be better if I put the baton up. So when you click her legs together, she does a kind of a strike with the baton. And maybe if I do it that way, it might be a bit easier. Kind of swings down with the arm, or if the arm is already down, it kind of swings across with the baton. So whichever way you want to do it. So she doesn't have a waist articulation because of that action feature, but I'll get into her articulation points. So bear with me a moment while I get the baton out of her hand. So her head is on a kind of ball joint, so she can get a kind of good left to right out, or she can do 360. She can kind of go back a small bit, kind of pivot a bit to the side, but not much. The main pivot is when you're actually turning the head, kind of pivots at an angle. Her arms are on ball joints, so they can go out and rotate all the way around. Now because of the action feature on this one, it will click every time you rotate it, so, and it kind of swings as well without using the action gimmick. But you can get into position that you want and it will stay there. She has single jointed elbows that get a good 90-degree bend, and then for her wrists she has swivel wrists, but she has in and out hinges on both wrists as well, which is quite nice. So then for her hips, she does have hip articulation in in her right hip, but that's partly to do with the action feature, because you're spring it in, it goes for it rotates the body, so there's no kind of actually hip in and out or anything like that. And the same on the opposite side, it's just a flat swivel forward and back. She does have single jointed knees, which are quite nicely hidden with the sculpt of her pants that go down. And then she has no ankle articulation or anything like that. What's interesting is she has these slits going down the back of her boots, which indicate that you can actually take the boots off. They're quite a solid piece, so I don't want to actually take them off without risking maybe damage. But you can, I'd say if you heat up the plastic, you can remove it for whatever reason. Now, unlike most figures, like she's kind of basically designed to be the Barbie of Star Wars universe for the for girls action figures. So unlike normal Barbies, her clothing, most of her clothing is actually sculpted, with the exception of the waistcoat. The waistcoat is actually a separate piece, and it just has printed on details. They're not actually sculpted on, or they're not solid details, but she does have a printed on pockets with stuff in them, and the little bit at the bottom of her waistcoat that you see in the film. But all in all, she's pretty cool. And as I said, you can get that head scarf to go over her head, and then just wrap the shawl kind of thing around her give her the appearance that she had in the film. It doesn't really tie into place. You could tie it if you want, but it might get pushed out of shape, so I just leave it loose around her, so it gives her the same appearance. A few things to note. What's interesting is she has a kind of rooted hair, but it's kind of has a kind of gluey stuff on it to hold it in position. Same with the bun at the back. There's not sure if you'll pick it up, but there's actually kind of a wire wrapped around so it doesn't move in place. And when you get her in the box initially, she actually has two things on either side of her head that are clipped in onto the plastic tray of the box that you have to snip. It's kind of like, you know, when you get a pair of socks, they have those like little plastic things with the kind of T at the top of them that hold the socks together. It has something similar like that on her head. For some reason it goes inside the plastic of her head and holds her head in place in the box for whatever reason. But all in all, she's quite nice. So if I can, I'm just going to give it a bit of a size comparison. So this is what Hasbro, this is made by Hasbro, and this is what Hasbro has for the boys line basically of Star Wars figures for the same scale, which is this. This is the Force Awakens Kylo Ren. I'm pretty sure I've done a review of this guy before. He's basically a giant scale 5 points of articulated figure. In fact, he has 6 points if I remember correctly. He has swivels in the wrists, but he has no neck articulation, so he can't even swivel his head. He can push his arms out and just swivel his arms a little bit, or his hand a little bit, and then his legs can just do a seated position. Other than that, he's basically all plastic, kind of a lightweight plastic. So that is what Hasbro has been pumping out for the Force Awakens line, and I think just before the Force Awakens, Rebels was the first line who got those sort of style figures. And then for a bit of nostalgia, this is what Hasbro used to bring to the table for when they were doing 12-inch figures. And as you can see, it's a good bit more detailed. Well, it's a good bit detailed, and it's a good bit more articulated. You have swivel head, you have articulation in the arms to go out. This is one of the Bith Cantina band members. You actually have elbows, you have swivels, you have hinges, you have ball jointed legs, single hinge knees, actual soft goods clothing. I know their initial kind of line for the 12-inch Star Wars figures wasn't brilliant. They kind of had hit or miss figures where the proportions were all over the place, or the articulation was too, was a bit lax. But all in all, they did actually try their best until Hot Toys, the likes of Hot Toys and Sideshow Collectibles came along and just blew everything out of the water with their scale and detail and everything. But all in all, the Jyn figure is really good. I do recommend picking her up if you're a fan of the 12-inch scale figures and you can't afford the likes of the Hot Toys version of Jyn. I think there is a Hot Toys version of Jyn. I'm pretty sure there is, because they seem to make Hot Toys versions of nearly every main character from the Star Wars universe. But as I said, if you can't afford the Hot Toys, which usually run in the 100 to 200 price, or €200 price point, she's a nicer, cheaper alternative for you. I do recommend getting her. Okay, it does have the little gimmicks with the truncheon and the battle feature, or whatever you want to call it, the action feature with her. I'm gonna smack you in the face with a baton, kind of thing. So you can beat the Jesus out of people. So she's pretty cool. I do recommend checking her up if you want. As I said, the other figures all have some similar sort of action features. I think Rey has like a lightsaber or a staff, the bow staff thing that she has. She has like a staff twirl. I think Leia has a pistol grip shot type thing where she slings her arm up to aim her pistol. I think both Leias have that, because I don't think the she had anything else really for the other version. And then I think Sabine has a dual pistol kind of one where she does the same thing with pistols, but with both her hip pistols. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed my review. Hopefully I didn't waffle on too much. It's, as I said, good figure. Paint apps aren't too bad. I haven't had any issues with the paint apps on mine. The hair is pretty cool. It's a bit weird where it's kind of like a solidy kind of chunk of hair where it's kind of glued, matted together, so it stays in position to look like the character. But all in all, she's nicely sculpted, nicely detailed, and as I said, if you can't afford a Hot Toys figure, it makes it a cheaper alternative to have a 12-inch or 1/6 scale figure in your collection, just to have on display if you like to have the figures and have them in the background. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed my reviews. As I say in my reviews, if you liked the video, please feel free to click like, please feel free to comment, and please feel free to subscribe to my channel, as I'll try and keep rolling with the videos. Cheers, guys.